whatever you're doing, put some effort to it, and it's going to make whatever your process is a lot easier and a lot smoother. So, my best friend G just came through, and we just had a coffee over at my house. Probably came by for an hour. We chopped it up on a bunch of different topics. But, anyways, one of the topics that came up was talking about how to deal with something that you're not necessarily the most passionate about, and maybe dealing with the stressors of work, actually, because we're talking about work that we're not passionate about and dealing with the stresses of it. And fortunately for myself, I'm doing something, my work is something that I absolutely love. So there's certain aspects of it that I don't necessarily care about, but most of it, 99% of my work day, I'm super passionate about it. It's all good. But we're talking about some individuals who don't necessarily care for what they do. And that can lead to a lot of stress if you're not passionate about your job, if you have a lot of monotony in your job. I've been there before. I've worked jobs I didn't really care for or wasn't super passionate about. But I think one of the aspects of working a quote unquote job versus working a career that you're passionate about is that the more you effort you put into it, you'll actually develop a little bit of passion for whatever you're doing. For instance, my boy G, he's a construction inspector, and he's been basically climbing the ladder in the construction industry, and he's been, rising through the ranks in his company. And now he's been studying like a madman, going to school, taking tests so he can get to this position. I'm not super familiar with this stuff, but it's called an IOR. I don't even know what it stands for, but whatever it is, they make bank. And that's what he's pushing towards right now. And I'm pretty sure he's going to get to it in the next year or so. But anyways, what he was saying, or what we were talking about in kind of the transformation, if you want to call it, that I've noticed with him when it comes down to work, is that G started off the construction inspecting thing and it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm getting paid decent and I'm earning a good living, whatever. And then what I noticed is that the more that he was striving to kind of rise through those ranks and the more that he was striving to get to higher positions and get more pay, he started putting more energy and more effort into it. And when it comes down to studying about something, when it comes down to learning something, even if it's something that you're not necessarily the most passionate about to start off with, once you start to develop a certain level of proficiency in something, you can't help to enjoy it because we enjoy doing things that we're good at. It's just like working out. For instance, if you're starting your physical fitness journey and you're terrible at it, right? It's going to be rough. You know what I mean? It's going to be rough when you start out because you might not be able to do a pull up. You might not even be able to do 5 push ups. You can't lift too much weight. You get exhausted really, really easily. You don't have that much endurance. But the more that you stick with it, you stay consistent, you put effort into it, you actually start to get better at these things. Before you know it, you can do 15 pull ups in a row. Before you know it, you're bench pressing 225. Before you know it, you can run 7 miles. All these little feats that you start to be able to accomplish starts to get you a little bit more passionate about physical fitness. And before you know it, you're enjoying physical fitness. Then the next thing you know it, you're almost addicted to physical fitness. Same thing can go with any type of learning. Physical fitness is just learning your body. There's other things that you can learn in this life, just like G's learning about being a construction inspector. But the moral of the story is that you can be the type of person who can go to a monotonous job or a job that you don't necessarily have that much passion for and kind of stay stagnant. And I think stagnation is the root to maybe the frustration. Anytime we're stagnant and we're in the same place for too long, we feel like we're not growing. We feel like we're not improving. We start questioning why we're even here because you're just seeing the same things over and over again. But if you try to put a little bit more effort into it, maybe try to learn a little bit more about whatever industry you're in. I remember I worked in the airline industry for about 10 years. And granted, when I was working for the airline industry, I had a lot of other things going on. I had an Airbnb business for like 4 years. I had another job for a while. Towards the end, I started doing personal training and YouTube content. So I was doing a lot of different things while I was working that job as a gate agent for United Airlines. But I remember, you know, I did somewhat enjoy working with people. So I did always kind of enjoy my job to a certain extent, but it did get monotonous. And I would say it was a lot easier to stress me out, or I would get a lot more stressed out by my job when I was working for United Airlines versus now that I'm a personal trainer working with clients and doing something that I'm really passionate about. But I think if I would have dove a little bit deeper into the airline thing and actually been a little bit more curious about just the whole system of how airlines work and maybe try to get it promoted to a supervisor and a manager and a director or whatever it may be, and kind of went through the corporate ladder, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. Now, granted, I'm glad that I didn't go that route because that wasn't necessarily something, it's not really something that speaks to me. But at the same time, another question that needs to be asked is that if you are stagnant in a job that you've been with for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, when is enough? When is enough going to be enough? When are you going to actually leave this job and start pursuing something that you actually are passionate about? Because it's really two things that you can do, or three things really. You can either be miserable at your job, you can try to get proficient at your job and create a little bit more excitement or passion in that job, or you can just go ahead and just do something different. But the conversation me and G had actually stemmed from how do you deal with the his question to me was how do people deal with the stressors of work without taking it out on people around them in their personal life, because work is a huge aspect of what we do. So we do need to find different ways to deal with it, whether that's putting more effort into work and, kind of showing a little bit more effort and passion into what you do, or if it's just trying to figure out how to create that kind of boundary between work and personal life to where you don't take things out on people. But anyways, it was an interesting conversation. And I think what my conclusion to it is that, and I gave G the perfect example because the perfect example was him. He was the perfect example of how you deal with the stressors of work and how you deal with a job that you might not initially be so passionate about, because I see where he's at right now. And it's almost like he's completely changed up his mindset when it comes down to work. The first thing that kind of really made me think about it was one day G was like, "Hey, I'm about to change up my style." And I was like, "What you mean by that?" He was like, "I like wearing fly shit, in my personal life, but I kind of want to have my fly shit be like fly construction shit." So he started to own what he was doing to the point where he's like, this is a part of my identity now. This is what I do for work, and I'm going to be in the construction field for a minute. So I at least want to be the flyest construction inspector that you're going to see when you see me. So I'm going to have the dope Carhartt shit on, clean ass boots, whatever it may be that construction people wear. Same thing for me. This isn't the best example of it, but I like to dress kind of fly for a personal trainer. And, it makes me feel better about what I'm doing. And it's my identity. It's not my identity, but it's a part of my identity is that this is what I do for work. And I'm, passionate about it. And I want to show you in the physical form that I care about what I do. But yeah, so that was one of the things that first kind of let me know that G was kind of like going all in on it. And then he started telling me that, man, he was like, "Man, I'm taking these classes, these night classes, and I'm starting to kind of get interested in this stuff. The more I learn about it, the more I'm getting interested in it. And it's going to be a lot easier for him to work, and he's going to do a lot better job at it. And then guess what? On the back end of it, he's going to end up rising through the ranks even faster and higher and being more successful and making even more money." And the thing about it is, it's funny. I think I made a video a couple videos ago about like superficiality. The superficial aspect is like, let me do this job and make this money, or let me study for this test so I can get a better job and make this money. But the thing is when you dive a little bit deeper, go under the hood, go beneath the surface level, and you actually start to enjoy the process a little bit more, and you're not looking at your job from a superficial level, you're actually looking at it from a process level, you're actually going to be way more successful at what you do. And this is something this is the same thing. It goes with physical fitness, because once you stop looking at it from the standpoint of, I want to lose weight and I want to get to this number, or I want to be able to bench press 225 and I want these results, and you start looking at the process and start enjoying the process a little bit more, and start getting a little bit more curious about the process, you start getting way more gains and you start being able to do things that you never thought you were even capable of doing before. You know, some of the movements that I'm able to do right now, I would have never dreamed that I was able to do these movements. They looked impossible to me, you know, but you know, through the years of being passionate about calisthenics or passionate about fitness in general, and, you know, getting curious about how to improve in X, Y, and Z, or being improving in my push strength or my pull strength or my leg strength or whatever it may be, and diving deep into it, I've been able to, you know, accomplish different feats that, you know, I would have never guessed I would accomplish. But anyways, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit too much. Hope everybody out there is having a great day. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.